The discovery of evidence that we are not alone in the universe, a sign that our civilization is not unique among the stars, would be one of the most important finds in human history. It is perhaps no surprise, then, that when NASA's Viking 1 spacecraft took a picture of what appeared to be a human-like face in the Cydonia region of Mars in 1976, excitement about the possibility of finding evidence of an intelligent alien civilization reached fever pitch. In this episode, we take a look at the fascinating story of a seemingly anomalous structure on the surface of the red planet that would become known the world over as the Face on Mars. Back in the early 1960s, very little was actually known about the surface of Mars. At that time, everything we knew about the planet came courtesy of astronomical observations, and while both the Soviet Union and the United States had attempted to send spacecraft to the Red Planet, neither side was having much luck. By the mid-60s, however, things had started to look up. NASA's Mariner 4 spacecraft was both the first to actually accomplish a flyby of Mars and the first to take pictures of it up close. The images it captured lacked detail, but for the first time they showed the Martian surface as a cratered, barren world, not dissimilar to the Moon. This seemed to put to bed the notion that Mars was like the Earth, but it didn't dampen enthusiasm for further exploration of this strange, red-tinged world. A number of other spacecraft would go on to visit Mars over the next few years, and while these were able to return increasingly detailed images, there was one goal that seemed tantalizingly out of reach: to successfully land a spacecraft on Mars and take a picture to show, once and for all, what it was really like on the surface. Such an opportunity would soon present itself courtesy of NASA's two Viking spacecraft. Launched in 1975, both Viking 1 and Viking 2 consisted of an orbiter and lander. Viking 1 successfully touched down on July the 20th, 1976, becoming the first spacecraft in history ever to land on Mars. Viking 2's lander was also a success, landing a few months later on September 3rd. The images these landers returned showed the desolate rocky surface of Mars for the first time. Both Viking orbiters also continued to operate for several years, returning thousands of images that provided scientists with a goldmine of data on this mysterious world. But it was one image in particular, taken by the Viking 1 orbiter on July the 25th, 1976, that would generate widespread debate and intrigue for decades to come. The photograph, which had been taken from a range of 1,162 miles above a region of Mars known as Cydonia, seemed at first to contain little more than a smattering of unremarkable surface features. On closer inspection, however, one of these seemed to have a strangely familiar appearance. Measuring 1.5 kilometers across, this particular rock formation seemed to bear an uncanny resemblance to a human-like face. With two dark eye recesses, a nose shape, a mouth, and even an outline indicative of hair or some sort of headwear. Half of it was illuminated by the sun, while the other was bathed in shadow, and it seemed to sit isolated in an otherwise empty region of the surface. Once the press had become aware of the strange face-like structure, it wasn't long before it had become headline news, and the face on Mars had become well and truly ingrained in the public's consciousness. Many speculated over what the face could be and how it had got there. Was it a statue constructed by an intelligent alien civilization? Were they still there now? Or had it been built thousands or even millions of years ago? Was NASA going to send a spacecraft to investigate it further? At the time, Viking chief scientist Jerry Soffen was quick to dismiss the alleged face as being little more than a trick of light and shadow. When another image of the face was found among the photographs returned by the Viking orbiters, it boosted interest even more, but still failed to explain what the face could actually be. Furthermore, some conspiracy theorists began to suggest that various other rock formations within the vicinity of the face were actually pyramid-shaped structures built on points of mathematical significance, with the face itself in the centre. Such claims, however, were never definitively corroborated. As the years went by, it didn't seem as though an explanation for the face on Mars would ever be forthcoming, but eventually, as technology improved and resolutions increased, photographs of the Cydonia region captured by other, more modern spacecraft would eventually be able to put the mystery to bed once and for all. This image, for instance, which was taken by the high-rise camera aboard NASA's Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter in 2007, shows the face on Mars from a different angle and in a much greater resolution. As you can see from the picture, the mesa isn't actually shaped like a face at all, although it is now easy to see how the light and shadow in the original image gave it the appearance of one, just as Viking chief scientist Jerry Soffen said several decades earlier. NASA would also write that a detailed analysis of multiple images of this feature reveals a natural-looking Martian hill whose illusory, face-like appearance depends on the viewing angle and angle of illumination. Today, the face on Mars is often used as a prime example of pareidolia, the tendency for the human brain to perceive meaningful shapes in abstract patterns. While there are several other examples of pareidolia on Mars, there are none quite as iconic and widely referenced as the face. Even now, though, there are still some who argue that the face on Mars is more than just an optical illusion. While it remains a difficult argument to justify at this point, there is still much about Mars that we don't know, and it is certainly possible that we might one day find conclusive evidence of some long-lost alien civilization on the Red Planet, perhaps buried in the soil or hidden deep beneath the surface in the many caves that are thought to exist there. Until that happens, however, all we can do is speculate. Do you think that we will ever find evidence of life on Mars? Let us know in the comments below. Also, if you enjoyed this video, please remember to like, subscribe, and tap the notification bell icon to be notified when we upload new videos. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.